am using a size K that is a 10.5 or a 6.5 millimeter crochet hook with Premier Parfait Chunky in the color Cotton Candy. So we are just going to make 5-row granny squares, all in the same color. And I can get 4 out of one skein. 4 granny squares with 5 rows out of one skein. So we start with a magic ring. Chain 3. That counts as your first double crochet. 2 double crochets into the ring. Chain 2. 3 double crochets into the same ring. Two chains. 3 double crochets into the same ring. Two chains. 3 double crochets into the same ring. Chain 1. Slip stitch to the top. Chain of your first 3 chains. Chain 3. Double crochet back a little bit into that same space. We'll create a corner. In the next space, double crochet 3. Chain 2. 3 more double crochets into that same chain 2 corner space. Same thing in the next chain 2 corner space. 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets. Same thing in the next chain 2 corner space. 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets. And then you are at the beginning. Slip stitch into the top, chain 3. Now this leaves a little bit of a looser area right there. So I'll show you a different way that you could start your next row. Instead of chain 3 here and then go backwards into that space, we're just going to slip stitch into the top of the next 2 stitches and the chain 2 space, and then we'll start a corner right there. Which was chain 3, 2 double crochets, chain 2. Remember, in this first corner, chain 3 counts as a double crochet. And you could continue that one like that. It's a little bit less of a space to do it that way, but they both work. So then in your next space, you'll have 3 double crochets, then a corner, which is 3 double crochets, 2 chains, 3 double crochets. In the next side space, 3 double crochets. And you'll work this all the way around like that until you have this, which is a 5 round granny square, just a plain old granny square. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rounds. And sometimes I would start a new round by slip stitching over to the corner, and sometimes I would just start with 3 chains and then going backwards into the space. And that is how you make a plain granny square. And these work up so fast because the yarn is thick and the hook is big. And one skein of this Premier yarn, 131 yards, 100 grams, makes 4 granny squares with just a little bit left over. And I will be back to show you how to join these. To join these granny squares, I just grabbed a light blue DK weight yarn, and I only went down 1 hook size to a J. And I started at this end here, and then once I got to these 2, I just started joining here, and this is all joined with a slip stitch, which I'll show you in just a second. And I'm kind of liking the slip stitch join lately because it lays flat. I like the ridge of the single crochet, but I wanted something different. So I'm down to almost the end of these 2, and then I'll join these 2 to it and show you how that's done. So your yarn is always underneath here, and you go through that loop and this loop, and then you just grab the yarn for a slip stitch. So the yarn's always under. Grab the back loop of that square and the back loop of the adjacent square and slip stitch. And then now we're to a corner, so I'm just going to do the first chain of that chain 2 corner space and the exact same thing. Okay, now we're to the next 2. So I'm taking the chain that's closest to this next cluster. So that's chain 1, this is chain 2. Keeping your yarn underneath, taking that back loop, which is in front of you, but it's the back loop if that square was facing you, and the back loop of the other square and slip stitch through that and kind of tighten that a little bit. Then you'll just continue, back loop there, yarn is down, back loop there, and slip stitch. I'll show you a couple more of those. Probably veered way off. Sorry about that. And then you have a nice slip stitch join that's flat. And then when you come this other direction here, as you're coming along, you just chain 1 to jump over this one. So you follow the same procedure, same slip stitches through the back loop of each, and then here chain 1, and then just continue with that corner chain again. So I hope that's helpful.